Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, I'm taking this Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392 off-road. This is the new 24 Wrangler, so we're gonna see if the new 24 Wrangler is any better off-road compared to the previous versions of the JL. Let's get into it. Now quickly before we get into the review, I want to mention a few specs on this. So we've got about 12.9 inches of ground clearance. We have a factory winch. Now it is a worn winch, but you can get this as an option. It's a $1,900 option. And then we've got 35-inch tall tires as standard on the 392 now. And so this means that the Wrangler should be able to conquer this really steep hill. Okay, so our first obstacle is this very steep hill. I had the sway bar disconnected, but I'm just in 4-wheel auto. I'm not in 4-wheel high or anything like that. And in terms of how steep this hill is, it's about 20-something degrees, roughly. Now, we've got so much torque with the 392, you guys can see it just walks straight up, no problem whatsoever, and you have tons of articulation, which means that, you know, the tires always make contact with the ground, tons of grip with the 35s, and I'm only aired down to about 34 PSI with all the tires. Yeah. I mean, the Wrangler's not even trying with this. I will say, I just went up this hill with a ZR2 the other week, and the Wrangler feels a little bit, I guess, sketchier compared to the ZR2 because of the fact that it's a shorter wheelbase. So it's a little bit of a different experience. And then this coming down is only like, so that was just over 20 degrees. This, I think, is about 15 to... It's about 15 degrees, roughly, if I remember right. And if you guys are wondering, we're pretty high. We're at 5,300 feet elevation here, so that should push this naturally aspirated engine a little bit, but honestly, it's not even trying. So I'm doing a little bit of showing you guys the driving here because this is where it gets pretty articulated. So hopefully that side camera will kind of show you the view here. Now the Wrangler, again, it's no struggle for it whatsoever. The, you know, shorter wheelbase that this has, even though it's a 4-door, it's still a pretty short wheelbase for an off-roader, to be honest, modern off-roader at least. And so, yeah, it just doesn't struggle whatsoever. I will say, having the tires that, you know, now it's so hot out here that the tires have kind of gone up in PSI a little bit. We're at 34 PSI. It doesn't get rid of as much of the harshness. I think ideally for this trail and terrain, I think like 25 PSI would be best. Again, we've got B-Lock capable wheels, but we don't have, they're not converted obviously, so you can only go probably down to like 17, 18 before you get kind of risky with that. So this is the hill climb portion of the off-roading, and our start point was at a little bit like 5,200 feet elevation, and so we'll see. I don't think this is a huge elevation gain here. It might be like 100 feet or so, a little bit more than that, maybe like a couple hundred feet. But the biggest thing is just to see kind of how this 4-wheel drive system acts. I will say I've noticed the stability control light throughout our little off-road journey popping on quite a bit. That was bouncy. That was a lot better than I expected. I feel like they've done a better job with the damping with the 392 here. Now this is the hardest part in terms of, you know, grip and all of that with the vehicle. Still in 4-wheel auto, by the way. That's just what that shows you, like how crazy 35-inch tall tires are. So we went from about 5,200 feet to almost 5,400 feet, so just a couple hundred feet with elevation gain. Now I am going to pop it into manual mode here. So we are in first gear, and then this is going to be a quick, relatively quick descent. Now I always take this slow because the trail has a pretty big curve here, and so if you lose control, not exactly the best situation. But again, tons of grip. I'm not noticing any slipping with the tires whatsoever. So 35's great. And the steering has been really good off-road. I feel like they've improved the steering towards a bit more direct. I talked about this in my driving review, but it gives me a little more confidence off-road here. So we are in 4-wheel drive low, sway bar disconnected, just for a cushier ride. And, well, we're doing some rock crawling, which is really not a struggle whatsoever for the Wrangler. Again, the solid axles, the shorter wheelbase, it doesn't even have to try. So we are now descending into another obstacle, and in most vehicles, I'm usually worried about the approach to an extent and the departure to an extent, but being a Wrangler, I mean, it honestly just makes everything so easy, and it just does not have to try whatsoever. I mean, look at that. So this next obstacle is one that I usually go up, but we are going to try to go down with the Wrangler. Now I am going to take it really slow. I'm actually slightly in the wrong position, so we're going to get a little bit closer to this rock. I will say the front camera does help out quite a bit. Man, it is always way worse going down an obstacle than it is going up an obstacle. That is for sure. Yeah, it feels so much, it feels like it feels so much sketchier going down. Yeah, honestly, it's way harder to go down this than it is to go up. Up, like I went up that with like a Grand Cherokee. And there we go. But yeah, I mean, if I didn't have solid axles, I don't know about that with going up that one. And the articulation the ground clearances has. Because most vehicles with independent front suspension, they can go up things fine, but when you go down, because they don't have the articulation, they always end up bottoming out. And then this is just quickly another little rock crawling obstacle. This shouldn't be a challenge at all for the 392. Again, tire grip, everything's all good. Man, this thing is a beast. Okay, so as always, we've got to flex the vehicle out on a rock, and this looks so cool with the solid axles. So you guys can see here with the whole setup there. Notice full contact, and then same thing there at the top. And then you guys can see the tuck here in the back. And then look at that side view. And then over here on the other side, you guys can see how it's kind of flexed out here and then tucked up front. Such a cool look overall. But again, this shows you the benefits of solid axles because we've got complete contact. So this is going to be the last obstacle for this video. We're basically going to be climbing up this little, I don't know what you call this, ravine thing, basically. And again, the Wrangler, it shouldn't struggle whatsoever. I do have Jenks in front of us spotting me because I've actually done this by myself, believe it or not. And I'm like, oh, I'm so cool, I've done this by myself. But just in case, because this is not my vehicle, this is a press car. So I don't want to destroy a press car. Again, this just makes everything, I'm taking this slow just to be safe, but man, this just makes everything so easy. I mean, look at that. Like, it's just craziness. Craziness. So we are climbing back down, and Jenks has decided to spot me from inside the car in his own funny, his head's out the window. So hey, if this is where we got to be extra careful.
You're good over here.
Yeah, we're just gonna take this nice and slow. By the way, apparently I don't have power steering anymore. It says that it's overheated, which actually is the thing that's happened to my Wrangler as well. It is like 100 degrees outside.
What?
It's 100 degrees outside.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, take it a little bit to the left.
Yeah, I think we're good here now.
Yeah. If you go straight, then you're fine.
Boom. So, yeah, it just shows you the capability. Also, never spot someone that way. That's just Jenks being Jenks. I have to put that safety message there, because imagine if we rolled and your head's up. I'm just saying. You would have jumped. See ya, Ben. Good luck with that. Okay. So let's sum things up with our first off-roading video with the Rubicon 392. There will most likely be a part 2. That was my tripod. There will most likely be a part 2 where we are, excuse me, climbing up a mountain. So it'll be like Wrangler versus mountain, something like that. But in terms of the part 1, so here's the deal. As someone who owns a Rubicon 392 and has taken this off-road, this doesn't really feel any more capable. So the capability is unchanged. Now, obviously, the winch does add recovery capability, right? And it does make it better in some situations. So you do have that added factor. Now, when it comes to other stuff like the extra noise insulation, all that kind of stuff that makes this a better on-road vehicle, it doesn't really do anything for this when it comes to the off-roading side of things. It's still just, you know, it's not really, it hasn't really changed anything, if that makes sense. So when it comes to off-roading, this is an extremely capable off-road vehicle. Like, it makes everything extremely easy. Like, a lot of those obstacles, I know that I made them look really easy, and it's because of the Wrangler. Like, other vehicles struggle on those obstacles, whereas this, on the other hand, I mean, it's really hard to find the limits of this outside of extreme rock crawling like in Moab. So super capable, but I guess if you're an off-road enthusiast, other than the winch, I don't really think that you gain anything. I mean, having the 35-inch tall tires as standard, I think that's a big improvement. But yeah, it's all the same tech, which is, I think, is good. So let me know what you guys think about the Rubicon 392 off-road. I still think this is one of the best off-roaders out there, especially for crawling. And having that V8, I mean, you guys probably noticed through the video, it's got so much torque that, like, you just barely get into it, and it just crawls up everything so well. It's so amazing. It's super easy. But yeah, let me know your thoughts.